We're going to start in the NL East. And man, oh man, are we in for a doozy. The New York Mets, who had a 10.5 game lead over the Atlanta Braves at the beginning of June, now have a 2.5 game lead over the Atlanta Braves. Honestly, not because of anything the Mets did wrong, but because of everything the Atlanta Braves did right. That's how good the Braves were. Since the beginning of June, the Braves have been the best team in baseball. They've been remarkable. They came into the break hot, they went through June hot, and they are into July hot as well. So we're in for quite the matchup here. These two teams still have 7 more games against each other. 12 more games against each other. 7 in Atlanta, 5 in New York. This is going to be a remarkable stretch run. You know, if you love baseball, if you love rivalries, there's nothing better than this. Braves and Mets battling for the division. The Mets went out and paid everybody to become a good team. Steve Cohen shelled out $1 billion to get the Max Scherzers of the world, the Starling Marte All-Stars of the world, the Mark Canha, Eduardo Escobar, Chris Bassett. The names go on there. The Mets are really good. And not like really good like in years past when we think, okay, the Mets have like potential to be really good. And then they come out of the gates hot and everybody's like, oh, the Mets are so good. And then they come crumbling down. This is a different team. This is a Mets team that is very, very good. So when I look ahead at the second half in the NL East, I see the Braves, who I have in the World Series. My preseason prediction was the Braves winning the National League. And then there's the Mets, who appear to be hanging on by a thread there in the NL East now. I think the Mets pull this out. I do. In the second half, I look for the New York Mets to hold on and to win the division. I really do believe that. And why? Well, let's look at 3 reasons. I have 3 reasons why the New York Mets will win the National League East. First up, Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom, who hasn't pitched this year, is the best pitcher on planet Earth. When he's healthy, when he's out there, there's nobody better. And that's rare in sports because there's not often you can point to somebody in a sport and say, he is the best on the planet at what he does. And there's no other argument. For a while there, I feel like LeBron in the NBA was in that argument. But now you can't even say that. There's other guys, and you can't often say it, is my point. DeGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. Clear cut and simple. Now DeGrom is back rehabbing. He's already on his rehab starts. He's had one in St. Lucie. He's now in AAA with his rehab starts. I mean, things are pretty good. Things are looking good for DeGrom being back. He's out there throwing over 100 miles an hour already in his rehab stints. He should be back. He should be back soon. And the Mets will have the best 1-2 punch in baseball. And I don't think that's an extreme thing to say. You know, I do believe that is the best 1-2 punch in baseball. Jacob deGrom, who is the best pitcher on planet Earth, and Max Scherzer, who is really good at what he does as well. That's reason number 1, DeGrom coming back. Reason number 2, the offense. The Mets offense is underrated. For the last couple of years, let's look at last year as an example. Last year, the Mets offense was Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. And guess what? Lindor wasn't good. And Alonso wasn't good enough to pick up the slack of the rest of the offense. I like a lot what this Mets team was able to do in the offseason. Like I just listed some names, but they go out in the outfield and add Starling Marte and Mark Canha, who have both been really good this year. Marte's an all-star, and Canha had stretches where he was really good. They add Eduardo Escobar, who switch hitter, can be good, hasn't played up to his potential this year, but I think he's better. Jeff McNeil in the infield, all-star. He's finally healthy and playing up to the potential that we've seen from him before. Pete Alonso, who leads all of baseball in RBIs. This team's really good. This team's a lot of fun to watch. It's different than in years past, and I've said it and I will say it again. The Mets aren't gonna Met. The only way the Braves catch the Mets in the division standings is when they played better than anybody else in all of baseball. And they caught up to them, and they didn't even catch them. They just got a little bit closer. Well, they got a lot closer. But it's not for anything that the Mets did wrong. I like them a lot. This Mets team is really good. Their offense ranks 5th in Major League Baseball in runs per game. You talk about the Mets pitching staff that has DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassett. That's what everybody was talking about. Well, guess what? At some point this year, they didn't have them. They didn't have those guys. They didn't have 2 of the 3. They didn't have 1 of the 3 for a while. They haven't had an easy route here. And they still sit at the All-Star break with a 2.5 game lead over the Atlanta Braves. So their offense, their revamped offense, is another reason that I believe in them, because they're all capable of picking each other up. Last year, if Lindor doesn't play well, the offense isn't going to do well. If Alonso isn't good, the offense isn't going to do well. Well, guess what? This year, if Lindor's not good, Marte can pick him up. If Alonso's not good, McNeil's picking them up. If all of them aren't good, the dominant pitching staff is picking it up. This Mets team is different, and they are capable of holding on to the division. And not only is it because of the pitching, it's because of their revamped offense. My third and final reason for you, and this is a big one, and this has nothing to do with the Mets on the field. The reason I believe in the Mets and why I think they can pull it out in the second half is because of their strength of schedule. Man, oh man, is it easy. They have the 23rd toughest remaining schedule. So of the 30 teams, they have the 7th easiest schedule remaining. Now, if you go and look at this, start in September. From September 1st through the end of the season, which goes a week into October, it is comically easy. Games just riddled with the Washington Nationals, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Oakland A's, the Chicago Cubs. There's a series with the Atlanta Braves in there, which is going to be huge. That's at the end of the year, too. I mean, that series is going to be huge. And then they finish with a set against the Washington Nationals. Coming down the stretch, and now look, this is the second half. They have the 7th easiest schedule in all of baseball in the second half. We didn't do this research. Our research team is amazing here, and I didn't ask this question, but I guarantee if you look at September 1st on, there's nobody with an easier schedule than them. That is my belief, and I am holding to that. So that is the final reason of which I believe the Mets are going to win the division. Jacob deGrom comes back. Their revamped offense is much better, and their strength of schedule is very much so in their favor. The Atlanta Braves, in contrast, they have the 14th toughest remaining schedule. So kind of middle of the pack, but not near as easy as the Mets. I got the Mets in the second half, pulling it out in an upset. Moving on to the Central. The Central's 2 teams here. It's the Brewers, it's the Cardinals. I got the Brewers here in the second half. Their rotation is too good for me. The Cardinals have some issues. Pitching, offensively outside of Arenado, Goldschmidt, and one of the biggest all-star snubs that many people aren't talking about, Tommy Edman. They have their issues there. They're the better offensive team, no doubt. But pitching, they can't compare to what the Milwaukee Brewers have. I am betting on, if I were a betting man, I'm betting on the rotation of Corbin Burnes, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta, who is ahead of schedule to come back, who is coming back much sooner than later. I'm betting on those guys. The Cardinals have serious issues in their rotation. I don't know what's going on with Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty was one of the brightest young stars in the game of baseball when he's come up, and he has just not been able to pitch through injuries. And it is so frustrating for a fan of the game. I'm sure it is frustrating for him. I love watching him pitch. I faced him in the minor leagues many times, and I knew how good he is. I knew how good he was then, and I know how good he is right now. He's a good pitcher, but this Cardinals rotation struggles without him being himself. Now you're counting on an Adam Wainwright who is, older in this group, into his 40s, and we're counting on him to be the ace of a staff. and a rotation that just needs to figure it out. They need to do something at the break. They need to do something at the deadline, and they need it fast. This Brewers team is going to pull away when they get their big three back. They've had 2 of 3 most of the season, not 3 of 3. I like the Brewers a lot. Even though they don't hit well, I think they pull out the division in the NL Central. And I got the Cardinals missing out on the playoffs. All right, looking ahead at the second half in the National League West. Look, it's just like yesterday for me. In the AL West, the Astros are the easy answer. In the NL West, it's the Dodgers. It's the Dodgers. They're sitting at 60 and 30. And honestly, I feel like it's safe to say the Dodgers have underperformed in the first half, and they're still 60 and 30. It's remarkable how good this team is. And don't overthink it. The Dodgers are winning the NL West.
Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.